All right, this video I'm just going to use to give a quick overview of the Moodle Basics Can You list work for this week. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail about how each of these things works. I've given the links to the instructional pages on the Moodle homepage. This is more just to, at the very least, show you where each thing can be found. So I wanted to give you a kind of a visual view of where things are. So as you're looking for each of these things, and just to do a quick overview of these. So I'm not going to go into depth on each one, but just provide a basic overview to get you going. So this is the Can You list, and I'm just going to run down through these very generally. So to start with, let me go back to the main page here. So the first one has to do with the overall title and description for your Moodle, which you can alter at any time. You will start to recognize there are certain icons that Moodle uses pretty consistently to refer to certain things, and one of them is this gear icon, which always has to do with settings or changing things or setting up things for the Moodle. So if I go to the gear that's at the very top of the Moodle and click on it, the top option says Edit Settings. And when you click on that, that will take you to the course settings page for your course. So here's where you can change the name, the full name, the short name, which is what appears at the top of the screen in navigation, the navigation bar. Category you will not be able to change. That's going to be set. But you also have the ability here to hide or show a course, to set the start date and the end date, and so on. So that is where you get to those basic things. This is also where you'll do the format, which has to do with how the topics are displayed, when they're hidden, when they're shown, and so on. So this is where you kind of do those overview things. A bunch of these categories or sections you won't really have to do much in, but at the very least you've got your general settings, you've got the course description, and then you've also got the format options here. So if you're looking for that, that's going to be up in that gear at the top. I'm going to cancel out of this because I don't want to change this class. All right, so again, that was that gear menu at the top. Next thing has to do with participants and enrollment. With these Moodles, students should be able to self-enroll. So if we get to a point where we're having other students look at our Moodles and beta test them and give feedback, they should be able to self-enroll, but you can also manage them directly. Right now I have it collapsed just because my screen is small here, but if I click on this and bring open this sidebar, one of the top options should be participants. And when you go to the participants page, that's where you can do all of the student management things. You can add students, you can delete students, enroll new users, and so on. So that's that participants page is how you manage all those things. So I'm just going to make that sidebar go away, back to here, and go back to the main page. All right, next up is editing mode. The page as it is right now is, I can't edit. I can just click on things. I can navigate around. This button up here, turn editing on. When you click on it, it'll reformat the page and it'll give you edit buttons or links next to every single object in the entire Moodle. So now this is how you would add new things, delete things, duplicate things. When you pull down the edit menu, it gives you all of these different options. You can hide things, show them. You can move them left and right in terms of indenting options, and so on. So in order to change anything, you'll need to be in that editing mode. And you do that up here. And I can turn it off. And when I turn it off, it goes back to the previous thing. Adding sections to the Moodle is if you are down at the bottom of your Moodle, the very last thing will say Add Topics. For Moodle, a topic is a section. So if I want to add a whole new section to my Moodle, I would click down here at the bottom, add topics, and then it would give me an additional, obviously this is by weeks, but it would give me an additional section um, at the bottom of my Moodle, which then I can edit and format and set up however I want. All right, so those are like sort of the big level things, just basic setup of the Moodle, where things are, how to add sections and so on. Then we start getting into the more specifics of actually putting things into each lesson or into each section or each topic. The two main things are going to be adding resources and activities. When I'm in editing mode, at the bottom of each section, there will be an add a resource and an add an activity pull down menu. And that is how you will add an item to that week. Here's the page resource, which you're probably going to end up using the most. Labels are good if you don't have any, if you need something that doesn't have content but is literally just a text that you want to have maybe for organization, like what I do when I've got these headers like class materials and resources. That's just a label. And then on the other side are the activities, and these are those dozen or so interactive things that you can add directly through Moodle. So our chats, assignments, database activity, feedback forums, glossaries. We're going to take a look at a lot of these as we go through the course, but that's how you add that. When it adds them, it will always add them to the bottom of that particular topic. So a lot of times then you need to move things around. Again, when you're in editing mode, when I've got that editing turned on, the other thing that shows up are these move icons on the left-hand side. So if you need to reorganize anything, you can grab the handle and just drag it up and down, and then it will reorganize that material that way. Also, if you just click on it, not drag, it'll show you everything that is in the Moodle, and that can be a quick way to move something, especially if you have to move it a long ways in your Moodle, so you don't have to scroll and scroll and scroll. So just pointing that out. So that's your move icon to move things up and down. And yes, you can even move sections. So if you need to reorganize the order that your sections are in, you can just drag sections around as well. So that's our brief arranging. In terms of the settings for any given resource or activity, those are going to vary depending on what the resource or activity is. But the easiest way to get to it is this edit menu and to go to the edit settings. And what that will do is open up the settings for that particular resource or activity and allow you to make changes. And that would be like the name, what content is in it, is there a description, if it's an assignment, what are the due dates, and things like that. So those settings will change depending on what the thing is, but that's how you would access it. Also, if you're inside an activity, so let me just go like to our topics and objectives here for week 2. Anytime you're inside an activity, you can also go to this gear menu here and just edit the settings right inside this. So you can either do it from the main page or you can do it from inside an activity as well using that same gear icon. The whole text box thing, I'm actually going to do a really quick little video just about the text editor. But in any of these pages, anywhere that there is a text box, so let me edit the settings here. Anywhere you have a text box that you can enter text into, you're going to have these editing buttons across the top. And those have to do with formatting the text, adding links, adding videos, audio, things like that. Normally it shows one row of icons, but you can expand it down and get additional tools. I think there's like for doing scientific notation and putting in formulas and alignment and things like that. So that is basically the text editor. And you'll just see that pretty much anywhere that you've got a text box that can have text added into it from there. So, but I'll have a little separate video on that in the page that is about the Moodle page resource. So take a look in there. And then the last thing to look at in terms of the can you list has to do with changing your role. Right now, you will be looking at your Moodle as a teacher, which means you can see things that your students can't. But if you're ever interested in checking to see what your students see, you can change your role to the student to being a student temporarily. And the way you do that is accessed from the very top right-hand corner of the Moodle. When you click on that, the bottom option says switch role to. And when you click on that, it will give you options of what you can switch to. So I could switch to a student. And now I'm looking at this exactly the way that you see it as the students. And that's just a way to double check to make sure that things are showing up the way that you want them to show up for your students. You can then click back on this and just return to your normal role, and it'll take you back to basically being a teacher if that's your normal role in that Moodle. So that's the quick overview of the Can You list for this week. Just wanted to show you where things are. Each one of those items, I have a link in the Can You page to the full documentation. Some people like to just sort of poke around and try things and work things out on their own, and that's fine. But if you want to take a look at the documentation on any of these things, feel free to follow the links as well. All right, that's it for this video. I'll see you whenever I see you.